Today I'm going to attempt to tackle a really big project, and honestly I'm not even sure if I'm going to be able to do it, but we're gonna try. So we have this huge lilac bush over here, and I really need to move it because I have these these are the Spartan junipers right there, and the ones that are close to it on this side over here are kind of leaning a little bit that way, and I'm constantly having to stake them because this is blocking the sunlight off of them. And they do receive some sunlight in there, I think enough sunlight to grow, but it's also kind of making their growth habit look a little bit not as well as I would like it to be. And you see they're all staked right now, but you can see this one, it's kind of pointing out that way. So I really need to get this lilac out of here, and I'm going to attempt to do that today. That lilac that's over there also needs to be moved out of there, but I'm not going to move it this year until our hedge of the Spartan juniper over here grows to kind of a large enough hedge where we will have privacy. But this has to go over here. Now the ideal time to transplant a bush of this size would be in the spring, because you're going to be doing a lot of root pruning. And what root pruning means is basically you're going to be chopping a lot of those roots where they extend. Basically the roots are going to extend to the where the branches extend the most. So for example, I'm not sure if I'm explaining that right. I'm having a hard time to find the right words to explain it properly, but I thought I was recording, but let's try this again. Okay, so you see where that branch right there is extended to. So basically if I go down over here, you'll see this is where the roots would basically end. And these are the lateral roots, or the roots that are farther away from the bush or the tree, whatever it may be. Those are the roots that will take up the most nutrients and most of the water. The older roots are the roots that are closer to the tree. They're thicker roots. They are not very good at taking up the nutrients as the ones that are thinner. The thinner roots will transport those nutrients to the thicker roots in order transporting them into the plant. So what's going to happen is basically we're going to be cutting the roots at about right here, and that's going to get rid of most of those lateral roots that take up most of the nutrients and bring it into the plant, and which means that this tree or shrub is going to suffer a little bit. So I said a whole lot and I totally forgot to press the record button. Something's up with me today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay it over the footage where I'm going to be basically trying to dig the hole and transplant this shrub. Or maybe I'll try to explain it again. Let's see. Basically, I forgot what I said. We'll try to put it in the footage somewhere. I'll try to put that audio in the footage somewhere. What was I going to say now? Yeah, I'm clearly not myself right now. So the ideal time to transplant a shrub of this size or a tree would be in the spring, because in the spring season is going to be super cool, so the shrub has a long time to get acclimated, and also the weather is getting warmer and not colder. The ground is not going to be frozen during that time. That would be the ideal time. When the ground freezes, it's going to stop the nutrients from coming into the shrub. And I don't know, I think that we still have quite a bit of time for the ground to kind of freeze solid over here. Our ground freezes probably down to, don't quote me on that, but I think like 2 or 3 feet down. I don't know, something of the sort. I'll look it up and I'll probably put it on the screen for you guys. But you want enough time between the transplanting process and before the ground freezes. You want there to be enough time for those roots to take hold into the soil in order to have the ability to survive throughout the winter. Now we do get a lot of snow over here, so that is going to act hopefully as an insulator, but still before that, during the end of the fall season, it's going to be cold. The ground is going to be frozen. There's no insulation on the soil, over the soil, to protect that soil from freezing. So It's probably not the ideal time, but I'm still going to do it anyways. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say, because I want to give these trees that are behind it the best opportunity at surviving. So now I'm going to take you to where I'm going to be placing that shrub and show you where it's going to go. And first we are going to dig the hole before we plant it, because we want the hole to be prepped and ready, and hopefully I can dig big enough of a hole for it. So we want that hole to be ready before we dig up the tree, because it's going to go through a great shock and we don't want it to sit and have the roots dry out before we plant it. We want it to be happy. So several weeks ago I came over here and I placed this cardboard down over here to try to kill the grass. Now I just looked under it and the grass is still kind of yellow and it haven't died back completely. We have Bermuda grass over here and it takes forever to die. It's very persistent and it puts out runners and it goes through long distances, and then it peaks out. Like it could go through all this distance from here all the way into the bed over there and then peak out over there and then start growing in that section. So I'm gonna have to dig the hole and then put the cardboard around the hole so that that grass will eventually die. Now the plan for this for the future is to extend this bed basically to where these rocks are over here, but I'm going to kind of shape it a little bit better, and then it's going to go that way and then end up connecting right there with the deck. And I'm going to have to kind of shape it in a way where we can easily mow around it, and also right there next to the stairs, because if I shape it in a way kind of like a rectangular way that way, or even curving onto the stairs from right here where my finger is all the way to the stairs, that's going to make it really difficult to mow right under the stairs. Now in the future I'd love to put some steps right there so that I can extend this bed a little bit further that way, and maybe and one day in the future we might put a patio in this area right there, but that's still yet to be seen. We still have a lot that we need to do and fix inside our house before we do that. So this is the area where this lilac is going to go, and now let me show you the area where the other lilac is going to go, even though I'm not going to be planting it today, but I thought that might be a good location for it. Maybe you guys can give me your opinions on that before I actually plant it over there. Maybe just give me suggestions or ideas, because sometimes it's hard to choose the right place for a plant. So this is the area that I've been thinking about, the sunflowers. I need to pull them completely out of here. The squirrels have been taking all the sunflower heads and eating them, those little nasty rodents. They're cute, but it's a love-hate relationship with them. And I also planted the serviceberry over here, which is going to grow probably about 15 feet wide and about 15 to 20 feet tall. That's going to be beautiful. This is an autumn brilliance serviceberry. Let me bring you a little bit closer to it right here. So these sunflowers were just a temporary thing over here, and now they're just all done, and the petunias look also done. So all these things need to be pulled out. I may just leave the petunias as a ground cover just to keep the weeds from coming up over here, and then they will decompose in this area and hopefully add some more nutrients to this area. But basically what I was thinking of doing is having the other lilac planted right in this section right here, and I think that's going to be far enough from the serviceberry, and I think it's going to have enough space over here to extend its roots. And we have this kind of a French drain over here that kind of goes through our neighbor's property and into the creek. I'm not exactly sure, but I think this is how it works over here, because there's a lot of runoff from that side of the property from our neighbors on that side over there, so all the water goes this way, and then some of it, I'm not sure how that's connected, but some of it goes down that way. So the reason why I'm saying that is I'm thinking that's probably a good thing for the lilac to be next to this. Now, lilacs are not water hungry, but they do need some water, and maybe I won't have to give it as much irrigation as I would normally do if I were planting a lilac, newly planting a lilac. So the lilacs that I have on the opposite side are actually not on irrigation whatsoever, the ones that I'm going to be transplanting. They've been here since we bought the house. Before we bought, I don't know, they're old. They are really old plants, but I would like to save them, and I would hope that once I do transplant them and give them a good haircut, that they are going to look a lot healthier and fresher. I did cut back one of the lilacs a few years ago, and it has rejuvenated and put on a lot more growth, and it looks so much healthier than when before I have given that severe haircut. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the same for this lilac when I transplant it, because this lilac has a lot of branches that are sort of diseased. It looks like they have some boring insects in there that have damaged them. Now, I have been spraying them a little bit, and I think that's been helping. So early in the season, I spray them with the all season horticultural oil, which is an organic spray, and that kind of protects them from the powdery mildew and also from those insects that do damage lilacs. And I have noticed that they have been a lot healthier. So I'll just keep up on that and probably maybe treat them a little bit more, because I noticed that this one, especially on this side, does get a severe powdery mildew in our humid weather over here. And I do have to treat it a little more than the other lilac. Now this year I didn't notice that much because I have been spraying a little more. As you can see right here, these are signs of powdery mildew, and usually this whole shrub would be covered with powdery mildew. One thing to note about lilac before you go ahead and cut them, if you are transplanting your lilacs, is that they do bloom on old wood. So if you don't want to forfeit the blooms for the next season, you don't want to prune them in the fall. The right time to prune your lilacs would be early spring, right after they are done blooming. Or is it early spring, depending on when your lilac blooms. Basically, you prune it right after it's done blooming, because that's going to allow it to develop some hardwood and then develop the buds for the next season. So basically, these lilacs are not going to, or this lilac that I'm going to be transplanting over here is not going to have any blooms on it next season, and probably for maybe 2 to 3 years afterwards, because I'm going to be cutting it back severely just so that the tree can support the branches that it has, because its roots are going to be also pruned severely. I'm going to be using Biotone starter fertilizer to amend the soil over here before I plant the lilac shrub in here. Now, there are different schools of thought on whether you should fertilize your trees and shrubs before you when you plant them during the fall season, or whether you shouldn't do that. I kind of lean more on the side of fertilizing them. And the fertilizer that I have over here is a fertilizer that's solely focused on the root development of the plant. It's not going to help it to push any new growth. And I purposefully chose that because I don't want the shrub to push any new growth. Now, maybe if the weather warms up, just for whatever reason, it decides to warm up during the fall season, which can sometimes happen over here, that tree might kind of feel like it needs to put on a little more growth. And by giving it a type of fertilizer that's going to help it do that, basically a fertilizer that contains more nitrogen, that's going to encourage the tree to put on that growth. And that tree is going to be damaged by the severe weather that's going to be coming soon after that, which is the low temperatures, which is the hard frost and low temperatures, and that's going to kill that new growth. So this fertilizer that I have over here, the Biotone starter fertilizer, is a fertilizer that's going to help feed the roots of that plant, and it's going to help it to develop new roots in order to help it establish those roots quickly, hopefully before the the winter weather sets in. Now this fertilizer, it's an organic fertilizer, and it is activated by the temperatures around it. So the hope is that we will get some warm temperatures during the season, and the tree or the shrub is going to be able to absorb those nutrients and help it to set its roots better or quicker, hopefully. Now the soil is going to contain some nutrients, of course, especially that I'm allowing the grass beneath this cardboard over here to decompose, and that's going to provide some nutrients in the soil. Also, the soil naturally contains some mycorrhizae in it, which is what helps establish the roots of the plants. You can also use a hormone, a root developing hormone, which I also probably should use that after when I'm watering the shrub. So I think I'm going to be doing that. It's basically the same hormone that you use to dip your cuttings to allow them to root in. So you just follow the label on the back of the label. It's going to describe to you exactly what you should do if you were to use it in watering your plants to help them establish their roots. So I will put a link for the rooting hormone that I have, that I'm using, and if you are planning on transplanting anything as a shrub or a tree at this time of the year, if you live in a cold environment as I do. Now, if I haven't mentioned yet, we live in New Hampshire in zone 5B, 6A, so we do get cold temperatures in here. And typically, as I have mentioned earlier, this is not the time that you want to be transplanting your shrubs and your trees. You want to do that in the spring. So let me show you right now the tools that I have to dig that shrub, and also that I'm going to be using to plant it over here. So I got my loppers over here. These are the Fiskar loppers. I've been trying forever to find these loppers, exact loppers on Amazon, to link them for you, but I'm not able to. For some reason, they just seem to have a similar variety to this one, but not the exact variety. So I'll link those for you guys. And I also have this, what's it called? Oh, I keep forgetting its name. It's not an axe. It's basically this thing with a pointy end, and it has a root slaying action on the other end right there. So you can cut some roots with that one, and this one is going to help you dig. Also, this side helps you remove some of the soil from around the roots. And I also have a shovel to help me with removing some of the gravel from around the base of the plant, and also for digging as well. And that fork is also going to help me lift up the roots, go beneath the roots and lift them up, so that I can hopefully transplant as much of those roots as I can. So I'm going to start first by digging up the hole in here. I'm going to try to dig it as large as I can. And there's a possibility that I'm probably not going to be able to dig up all of the shrub. So what I'm going to do is probably dig as many of the branches that I'm able to with their roots. I'm thinking that it kind of acts up as a perennial, where it kind of clumps up and kind of grows from the base. It's that type of lilac. I did a video years ago, not years ago, last year, months ago, about the different types of lilacs, and I'll link that. I think I also mentioned some other shrubs and trees, but I also went in extensively on lilacs, describing all the different types of different varieties of lilacs that are there and the different growth habits. And I think this would be, is it Japanese? I'll put the name on the screen if I can remember, because I'm so terrible with names. But it's a clumping type of lilac, and it kind of adds on branches from the base of the plant. And when you do prune it, it always suckers up at the bottom and creates more branches. Basically, all that to say is that I think that I can dig around a whole bunch of branches, and I may not dig the whole lilac, and that is totally okay. If I don't dig all of it, I can either transplant the rest to a different location, or just get rid of them. I don't know, because we have already 2 lilacs, and I think I'd like to try different varieties of lilac instead of just one type. finished digging the hole for the lilac. It was exhausting. Hopefully I still have the energy to dig up the lilac shrub itself. We'll see what I can do today. If I'm not going to be able to finish it today, that's all right. I'll hopefully be able to finish it this week. My time is kind of really crunched. We started our homeschooling season and it is super busy this year. So I usually don't have a lot of time during the week to do anything outside. Sometimes I may have maybe like 30 minutes to work outside during lunch break. So we'll see. I hope I'm going to be able to do something. You can see it's a pretty big hole, but I'm not sure it's going to be big enough for the roots of the shrub. And I don't know if it's even deep enough. I mean, you can see the depth right here. This is pretty much the depth. Right there, it's maybe about, I don't know, like almost a foot, but not quite, almost, not quite, maybe a little over half a foot. And I did use the pickaxe, that's what it's called. I did use the pickaxe to remove the first layer of the grass that was here because it was really difficult to dig through it with a shovel. And then I used the shovel to remove all the soil, all the dirt from the hole. I'm going to cut these branches to about maybe right here. And this way it would have a lot less branches to support and all this heavy weight would have been taken off of it. I mean, this shrub is probably like 15 feet tall or so, maybe a little bit taller even, I don't know. And that is a lot to support for those little roots that we're going to be digging up from here. Because remember, we are also going to be root pruning this shrub. So first thing I'm going to do is tackle the branches. And I have my loppers. I also have a mini chainsaw that I can use in case if the loppers are too small for the job. And I may bring that if I need it. Right. I'm going to bring it. It's going to be so much faster and so much easier. I don't want to have to fight with these branches. They are a little bit too thick and they're old also, so they're pretty woody. So I have this cordless, mini electric cordless chainsaw right here. And I got my eye protection because I don't want any of the sawdust to end up in my eyes or big chunk of wood. And take this off. I don't feel safe around chainsaws or electric tools in general like this, but I think that it would be so much easier to use this than to use the loppers. It's going to take me like at least half the amount of time, if not even less. Yeah, it's fully charged. Easy. So I cut it all back. I also scooched the gravel away on both sides. I wasn't able to scooch it away on the other side because I have some phlox there and I don't want to pull them up yet. They're so beautiful, but I'm afraid I'm going to damage them while I try to pull the lilac out of here. But they are in bloom right now and they look so beautiful and I feel so bad about it. I may just transplant them and move them over to that area over there so that they could just kind of complete that row over there and fill up that area. Maybe because they do match the ones that I have in that area right there. And also, well, while we're here, let's take a closer look at these dahlias. Don't they just look so beautiful? I mean, look at these blooms. That's a more faded one, but they're just so gorgeous and I'm so happy with them. They are loaded with blooms and hopefully our frost will not come yet so that I can enjoy them for a little bit longer. I love them so much and I'm going to be saving these tubers. I also have a red one over here, which I'm surprised it was with these. It must be like a rogue seed. And this one right here is also very beautiful. And it's kind of like a reddish pink, I would describe it. It looks more red on camera. Oh, I see another one. This is speckled. That's beautiful. Anyway, so I also pulled up the landscaping fabric from here, and you can see the aerial roots right there. These are the roots that actually take up all the nutrients in the little roots like that, which is really good. That means this lilac is going to be able to survive once I transplant it. I'm hoping it doesn't have a lot of deep tap roots in here. We'll see. I will say though, transplanting something this large is a big job, and if you don't have the strength for it, you probably don't want to do it. You might want to hire someone that has like a bobcat of some sort, or I don't know, some type of a machine that will just be able to lift it up easily. Now, I would rather do that personally, but that also is going to cost a lot of money. It's probably going to be like at least $200 just to dig up that lilac. So I'm just going to do it by hand, and I'm pretty sure that even if not all of it is going to survive, that a lot of it is going to survive. And I may even just pick and choose from the branches, because there are a lot of dead branches, or rather not dead, but more like, I'd call them like maybe diseased branches. I mean, they look really good over here. It doesn't look like they are damaged or anything, but I don't know, they look very old, and a lot of them end up having dead branches on the top and breaking. So I think that having more branches that are kind of young is going to be even better. So we'll see what I'll do with them. I don't know. I'm going to try to transplant as much as I can from this lilac. Although I'm probably not going to be able to finish transplanting it today. That's probably going to end up being a multi-day job. And I'll try to do it during our school days. I do homeschool, so I only have like about half an hour to dig up, I see a chipmunk, to come out here and work outside. So I'll try my best. Maybe every day I'll just work a little bit on it as best as I can. I also have canning to do, so it's a lot happening at the same time. Oh, there's so much that happens during this season. It's like I feel a little bit overwhelmed. So I'm going to try my best to do whatever I can today just to get the job kind of started. And that's going to get rid of most of those lateral roots that take up most of the nutrients and bring it into the plant. And which means that this tree will, or shrub is going to suffer a little bit. So because of that, I'm going to be cutting the branches really low so that the tree doesn't have to support all those branches and provide nutrients for all those branches. Now we are getting close. We basically started our fall over here, and the leaves are already starting to fall off of this shrub. So there aren't a lot of leaves and branches to support, but that's still going to help this bush, especially because there's still a lot of water and nutrients that will still go up into those branches during the dormant season. And that, by cutting them back, that's going to help that shrub to support less of those branches and try to keep less of those branches alive. And also, by cutting those branches, I'm going to be making them less wobbly, where we have a lot of wind over here. You probably can hear it right now. It is pretty windy right now, but we do get pretty strong wind in here, and if I don't cut those branches low, what's going to happen is those strong winds, they're going to blow the shrub down onto the ground because the roots haven't first taken hold yet into the soil, and also because those roots have been cut really short and planted in order to be planted. Just as I have suspected, I am able to actually separate them one branch at a time, or one clump at a time. You can see this one right here. I can just get to the roots and try to get as much of the roots as I can, cut that, and I need to put this in some water, and I may not plant it today because I want to kind of plant them all at the same time so that I know what I'm doing. Or I may plant it today. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But this is a really good sign, and putting them in some water right now is actually good so that they can hydrate before I plant them. But it is getting dark and I don't know how much I'm going to be able to do right now. I think it's probably close to 6, if it is not 6 already, and I may only be able to plant this branch right here. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in some water, get it ready, and then maybe just plant it, and then as I dig them up, I'll plant them and water them, and hopefully they'll look good together, and if they don't, I can rearrange them. But I'm gonna stop at this one today. I'm gonna dig it up and plant it, and hopefully tomorrow I can come here and dig up some more. And I was using this tool right here, the pickaxe, to get in between the roots and at the bottom and in between the branches, because it got really difficult to get in between these branches. You can see how thick they are. So I was able to get this tip of the pickaxe and go there between the branches and kind of pull up these roots over here, and that worked out really well. Okay, I take it back. I'm not going to be able to actually soak these in water. The roots are super long and I don't have something that is large enough to put the roots in. So we're just gonna plant them. That means that some of that soil is gonna be covering them. That means I'm gonna have to dig some more soil later on to plant the rest of the lilacs. But I do have to plant these today because I just dug them up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant them and water them ASAP so that they can get hydrated. And one of them actually got injured, and you can see right here, this is the injury. So we'll see if this is going to make it or not. It's an old branch anyways. These are the kind of branches that I would rather have, but I'm going to plant it anyways and see what happens. It doesn't have as big of roots as the other one did, and this one right here looks like it has much smaller roots, but it also has a lot of the aerial roots that are going to be able to take up a lot of nutrients. So that's a good sign right here. And these, I think, will actually grow into some new branches later on in the future, which is a good thing. That's what we want. We want a lot of these so that we can have more lilacs. I tried to give them sort of the same form of when they were planted, and I covered them with soil up to the area where they were covered before with dirt. And I could tell because of the difference in color between the roots and between the branches. You can easily tell. And also over here, I have a root that is extending all the way up to here. So what I ended up doing is just I covered it with the soil in here. So now I'm going to give this some water, and then every day whenever I have time, I'll come here and plant some more, and I'll give you guys an update when it's all fully planted. I thought I took a recording of how I was planting it, but I don't think I did. So maybe tomorrow, if the weather is good and I have some time to come out here and plant, I'll record a little bit just to show you what I'm doing while I am planting it. It's not that hard, and I also tried to kind of position it in the way how it was before when I pulled it up. It's hard to do that because, you know, it has a lot of branches and all that, and they kind of cram against each other. So hopefully in the end it's going to look beautiful and have a beautiful form. And I am pretty sure that I'm going to end up with some dead branches, and I can always just pull these up and it will make more space for the ones that are ready to produce more branches, and then they're going to be healthier anyways. So we'll get back tomorrow and every day, and I'll update you at the end of how it's going to look like. I also did sprinkle some biotone starter fertilizer in the hole in the area where I'm going to be planting. I did not mention that, and you can kind of see the shape of how it's going to look like over here, and it's going to grow to be about 15 feet tall, so it's going to reach all the way up to the deck, and that's going to be so amazing. I did position it a little bit over this way because I don't want it to be right up against the deck, and I also don't want it to be so that when we are pushing the snow off the deck, the snow won't fall on it. And also we have a septic drainage in this area right here. You can see it, it's kind of dead. So the hosing extends from the deck over there, from under the deck over there, and it goes all the way over to this area. So I didn't want to plant something that has an extensive root system next to any any of the piping and all that, because I did not want to damage it. So we'll get back tomorrow and show you how it's looking like. But also, before I do that, I've been really enjoying this area. I mean, look at these blue salvia over here. I started these from seed last year, and some of them did return. These are not supposed to be perennial for our area. They are perennial in zone 7, but some of them were hardy enough to return, and some of them actually seeded themselves, like the ones that are growing in the fence. And I love the color of this one especially. I love how dark it is, especially against the pink. I mean, look at this. Doesn't that look so beautiful? I've been just enjoying this combination a lot, and I wish that these salvias would come back next season, and I'm gonna repeat the whole zinnia thing and the salvia until I am ready to actually do my plan for this area. But I've been enjoying them a lot, and I have some white ones over there on that end. Finally finished planting it. I dug it all up today. It is basically the next week on Friday. This day I have, I would say, the least amount of work when it comes to homeschooling, so I was able to actually put this thing in the ground, and I got poked in the eye with one of the branches. I should have wore my safety glasses when I was doing that, but I'm like, it's okay. Nothing is gonna happen. I was so wrong. So thankfully it didn't hurt me, so I'm okay. Here we go. That's a better place. You can see it better over here. So you can see all of them are in the hole right now, and I had to dig a little bit deeper for each of them, and would put a little bit of dirt every time I stuck one of these branches in there to stabilize them, and I tried to position them in a way where the branches looked natural, as if the lilac bush was growing in here already. And you can see, I think it looks pretty good. It looks huge right now, but I think once it puts on its branches for the next season, then it's going to look so much better. Right now it looks like it was just severely tortured. So the reason, so I ended up putting almost all of them in there, and you can see there are just 3 branches that were left, maybe 4 branches that were left that I did not put in there. And the reason why I did that is because when I was pulling them out of the ground, most of the roots were staying in the ground. Their roots were very brittle and they were just breaking off. And I was basically like twisting them, removing some soil from surrounding them, twisting them and pushing them down using my weight. And that worked out pretty well, and I was able to actually remove all the rest of the branches, which were basically most of this lilac bush today. And it didn't take me that long either. I would say maybe 40 minutes maybe to remove all the branches. And the planting time actually is the one that took the most, because I was trying to position everything in place. And if I get a little bit closer, you could see the roots over there. Some of them did come up with the roots. So again, the reason why I planted all of them is because they don't have extensive root system the way how they came up. And my thought is, because I have a lot more in here, it is if some of them do die, then I would still have plenty of branches that would stay alive, and then I would cut off the branches that I don't want in the future and leave the branches that I do want. I also want to limb the branches up so that they won't bother us while we're mowing the lawn or walking around the lilac. And the bed is going to extend a little bit beyond it this way so that maybe I can plant something under it, and then it's going to curve and go all the way there and meet with a stair like that, so that it's going to make it easy to mow over here. So now what I'm going to do is I brought a bag of biotone, and I actually did give it biotone already, but because I have disturbed the soil and dug and threw some of the soil on the side, I decided to give it a little more biotone just to be sure that there is some biotone touching these roots, so that they can take it while it's still warm and develop their roots before the hard frost hits and the soil freezes. I look like a mess right now, but this is what we're gonna do. I'm not camera ready at all, but I just had some time and I thought I'm gonna come out here and I'm going to plant this lilac bush. It needs to be done before the frost hits, and I don't want the roots to just I already disturbed the roots and I didn't want them to take more hold in the ground. And also for the past 2 days we had constant rain non-stop. Basically it would stop maybe for like 1 hour, and it was constant rain and it was soaking the ground. It was a very gentle rain. It was really good for our plants and the soil, and it was perfect for the lilac because it made it so easy to pull it out. So the soil that's in this hole is already moist, which is going to make it even better for this lilac to get established. So we're going to give it a little more of the biotone fertilizer, cover it with the soil that's around the hole, and then we are going to give it some water. And then maybe on another day I'll come here and I'll put some cardboard and mulch around it so that weeds won't grow in here. And let me take you first and show you how it looks like now over there. I haven't cleaned it. I'm not going to clean it right now. I'll clean it on another day. I just need to sweep the driveway. That's all I need to do over there. But let me show you how it looks like over there. And here we go. It's kind of hard to see because of the sun's position. Let me see if I can find a different view. There we go. That's better. Much better. And I'm so happy this is done. So I just need to clean this up and put the gravel back and the landscaping fabric, because there's gravel there. I'd rather have the landscaping fabric there because there's gravel under it. So I think this looks really good. I just need to clean it up and it will look so much better. And now we can actually expand this flower bed right here in front of the Spartan junipers and have some beautiful annuals growing in here in the summer to make this area look beautiful. I think this is going to look so beautiful. I just can't wait for this lilac to grow and put on some blooms. It's going to take a couple seasons before it will be able to put on the blooms. There are a few branches on it that are capable of producing some blooms, and I left those. Hopefully they will survive, and hopefully we'll see a little bit of blooms on it next season. But next season you'll see if most of the branches survive, and I'm hoping that a lot of them do. They are going to shoot up really tall branches, and they're going to produce a lot of suckers too. So I'm going to be pruning on it a lot. What I really love is that we're going to be able to see the blooms from the deck over here and smell them too, because lilac smells amazing. And if you don't have a lilac, you need to plant a lilac. And I've seen people even plant lilacs in zone 9. There are lilacs that are more suitable for those zones, and lilacs that are more suitable for the colder zones. So check what zone you are in and choose a lilac that will survive in your zone. And if you are in the hotter zones, you probably want to give it some sun protection just so that it doesn't scorch. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something new. If you are new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications of whenever I upload new videos, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!